You need to stop making this mistake with your retirement savings because it's costing you time and money. My name is Eric with Peak Financial Planning, and today this video we're going to talk about the order of operations in which you allocate your savable dollars into retirement savings accounts. The internet is full of flowcharts, just like the one I've drawn on the screen here, that show the perfect way to fund your retirement accounts. And the truth is, they're all bogus. They're designed for the masses without taking account any of the individuality of your personal savings and personal spending goals. So today in this video, we're going to go through a few scenarios that are very common across the board for people in retirement savings positions, whether they're 30 or 55. And we're going to talk about how you would use those scenarios to create rules to help you think about where do you actually send your savable dollars so that they perform the best for you in retirement while also balancing out your need to have access to spendable dollars for short and medium term goals. All right, so I've got my little tablet here. We're going to go through a few different of these scenarios, but let's start at the top here. Short and medium term goals. So retirement accounts penalize you for withdrawals when you're under age 59 and a half. And the issue here is if you're always starting out by maxing out retirement accounts, you will end up in a position at some point where you face an internal conflict, a decision conflict of, well, I also have short and medium term funding goals, things like a house or a car or a wedding or a honeymoon or kids' gifts, things like that. And you have to think about, where do I draw the funds? If you have a limited amount of savable dollars, you have to be thinking to yourself, where am I going to draw those funds from? And do I understand the consequences if I have to draw purely from retirement accounts before age 59 and a half? Now, this is common. Everyone is going to have short-term funding goals. And so one of the ways to solve this is to draw what I like to call a money tree. It's essentially a flow chart where at the left side you have your savable dollars. Let's call this a money bag. And then you draw a chart of how much percentage of each of that total pool of savable dollars goes towards each funding goal. So you might have retirement at one part, and let's call that 25%. You might have a short-term goal 1, which might be something like college savings for kids at 25%. And then you might have personal short-term goals, let's call it a house, of 50%, right? And this allocation, let's call this flow chart or money tree, will change over time to account for shifts in your life as you age, about where you want to place your savable dollars. And we're going to talk in a few seconds about access and things like that. But having some kind of system like this helps us conceptualize the long-term goal that is retirement, with the trade-offs that come with putting money into retirement accounts, and then the short-term goals that we also need to fund over the course of our life. And if we don't think of it in this way, what we'll end up doing is either funding only short-term, medium-term goals without actually paying attention to retirement and waking up at age 55 or 60 and panicking over the fact that we don't have any accumulated savings, or the opposite, which is living like a miser the whole time and having a pool of money at the end of retirement, but no home and the lifestyle that we didn't hope we would have, or maybe missing out on parts of lifestyle that we hoped we could have, when in actuality, we probably could have achieved both by having a plan like this. All right, the second item on our list here is legacy. Legacy is an important factor in planning. If you wait to plan for how your heirs will inherit your money until the very end of life, you're going to have a hard time actually making the shifts or hoping that the way you had saved leading up to that point were appropriate. Planning for legacy is like turning the Titanic rather than turning a speedboat. You need a lot of runway. It's not super nimble, and you need time and to do things in small increments, in tiny degrees, fractional degrees. A few of the considerations that go into this are understanding, one, that generally tax-deferred accounts, which are your traditional IRA and your 401k, are the least preferred of the different legacy options. They cause the worst tax consequences to the heir, and they also cause the worst tax consequences generally to the person living when they are taking the actual distributions from those accounts. So tax-deferred accounts are great in the current day. They give you an immediate tax break or reduction in taxable income in the year you're contributing to it. But for every point after that, they are less preferred than, let's say, a Roth account or a taxable account. Now, both Roth accounts and taxable accounts have significant tax benefits when it comes to planning for heirs and legacy. And so that can mean it can be strategically viable to actually allocate more savable dollars to a taxable account or to Roth accounts while you're still living and while you're still savings, at the exclusion of tax-deferred accounts, because the future benefits or the future trade-offs are significantly better. A couple of ways to think about this might be, if you think tax rates will be higher in the future, then putting money into Roth accounts and putting money into taxable or after-tax accounts can be better in the present, because you receive, for taxable accounts, you receive a step up in basis, which means that when you pass and your beneficiaries inherit your taxable brokerage account, the basis or the cost basis of the investments in there go up to the market value, meaning that the kids or heirs who inherit this account don't owe taxes if they were to liquidate that account at the point at which they receive it and inherit it. That they also receive a permanent step up in that basis going into the future, into perpetuity. And so that means as the gains in the account accumulate, the taxable burden on the kids or the heirs who will eventually liquidate and use some of the funds in there will be less than it would have been if it was in a tax deferred account, let's say. The second thing here is Roth accounts have no tax consequence when they're inherited by a beneficiary. And Roth accounts are also preferred from tax deferred accounts because tax deferred accounts and Roth accounts both share a feature where the government requires heirs to distribute funds from those accounts over a consolidated period of time. It depends on the relationship to the deceased, and we won't go into that in this video, but you have this accelerated period of time that's about 10 years within which to distribute all the funds from a Roth or a tax deferred account. If it's a large tax deferred account, that means that the heir may have to take very large distributions each year in order to actually distribute the funds, and that might push them into higher tax brackets and then result in a loss or a tax liability that's more significant. With the Roth account, you won't face that. With a taxable account, there is no consolidated time frame or requirement that heirs distribute funds from those accounts, and so they have more flexibility. So you can see here, it's not just a simple trade-off. You have to understand the ways each of these accounts works, and then you can start planning at the point where you begin saving for how you want your funds to be allocated with an eye on the future. The third item on our list here is simplicity. So retirement accounts come with a whole slew of regulation and restrictions and complications. You have penalties if you withdraw before a certain age. You have limitations on how much contributions you can put in. You have a limitation on how much you can take out in certain scenarios before retirement. You have the requirement of forecasting potential future tax rates. These things get complicated when you start to think about the whole list of things that you have to consider when you're deciding what type of account do I put it in, and also knowing that you have to lock that money away in a retirement account potentially for maybe as many as 30 or 40 years. Now, simplicity can grease the wheels, so to speak, and complexity gums up the works. Retirement accounts come with complexity, and while they are useful, this is not a case not to invest in retirement accounts. Sometimes we are simply deterred from actually saving or paying attention to our future by the complexity of the rules we have to follow when it comes to optimizing or putting our savings dollars to work. Simplifying that and using simple accounts like a taxable brokerage account or having simple rules that you can set up by doing some basic education can help you understand where to put your dollars. And then you can build up in complexity over time by optimizing towards something that looks more like this top chart, this top money tree here. But simplicity really matters, and I think it gets overlooked. If you're feeling a little bit bogged down and simply feel like maybe you're not saving as much as you could or should be, it might be worth taking a look and saying, is my life as simple as it could be, or is it overly complex? Am I making it complex in some ways? And how can I cut some things from the edges to simplify and allow myself to just get some basic momentum and get started? And this can apply at all ages and all parts of your savings journey. You could be 55 with a lot of wealth and say, how do I start optimizing a little better from here? How complex is my situation? Can I simplify? What is the method of simplifying? So as we bring this conversation to a close, the idea behind this video is deciding where to allocate your savings dollars is unique. It's individual. It requires incorporating knowledge about your specific goals and laying them out on a timeline. And I like to use this phrase a lot, but you need more runway. We tend to leave making a decision until it's far too close to the deadline, which doesn't leave us enough runway to make good decisions. Oftentimes it has us anxious and panicking, and therefore making a kind of impulsive decision that doesn't always produce the most optimal outcome. So giving yourself more runway will allow you to make better decisions, especially when it comes to allocating your savings. And having some kind of a financial plan like that money tree, or even working with a financial planner. And you know from my videos that I'm always advocating for fee-only fiduciary financial advisors who can help in this manner. But building out a financial plan that gives you a set of rules that are clear and simple to follow, that says, here's where you put savable dollars for this purpose, here's where you put savable dollars for this purpose, and here are the trade-offs and limitations. This is a conversation that I have with every client at Peak Financial Planning, especially when we start to get into the higher amounts of surplus or savable dollars as people's incomes grow and their savings goals also grow with that. Anyway, I hope you found this video helpful. You can find a whole bunch more videos talking about these types of subjects on my YouTube channel. If you like this video, please give it a like. It helps more people find this video. And then please also subscribe to the channel if you'd like to get notifications when new videos like these come out. Thank you for your time and attention, and see you in the next video.